Hello everyone. Here I would like to say something more about the way that I learned my languages, more specifically about the way I organized my learning throughout the day, about the materials that I used, and about the key components important for me when studying a language. So, how did I organize my language study throughout the day? This is one of the challenges that many people including me, encounter when trying to learn a language. Because, yeah, we are busy people, we have lots of things to do throughout the day. So, for me, definitely, there are two parts of the day where I can find some time if I really want. Usually, it's in the morning and in the evening. The most difficult has always been to stay consistent with this. For me, it has always been easier to find time in the morning. The best way for me to find time in the beginning of the day that worked was getting up earlier than usual, and then I could do some parts of the lesson of the day, let's say for a few minutes, maybe for an hour or even longer. It depends. It always depended on what I studied, how busy my day was expected to be, and so on. Even, for example, the season of the year mattered for me, because during the summer it's always been easier for me to get up earlier and do something early in the day. Then, in the evening, it's always been more difficult for me, because when it's late, I was always getting more tired, and also like many other people, I tend to postpone things that can be postponed during the day. Nevertheless, in the evening, I still could find some free time for languages. And at this time, I did another part of my study session of the day. But what was the most important during the most intensive period of my language learning was that I was able to find time also between doing things during the day, or at least once during the day, like for example around noon or any other similar time, similar point of the day. So in this way I could basically allocate two spots during the day, morning and evening, plus I could possibly find some third time or even more times during the day or in the course of the day. And those could be used for just continuing my learning session, the lesson, or for revising what I learned, or learning something new. It depends. Or just for maybe reading something about what I had learned in the morning, or just look at something that I would do later on in the evening, or when it was comfortable enough for me, I could do a few exercises or some part of the lesson. As for the materials that I used, it was mostly books. At first I started using books that I could get locally from a physical bookstore. Later, when I started to be interested in the languages that were not so common, I just tried to find some books that were available from some local e-shops. I was basically using materials that were created for Slovak speakers, and that's it. Nothing fancy, nothing unusual. I was using mostly things that were easily accessible for me. Well, with a couple of less common languages, the situation was a bit different. I remember now, for example, Turkish or Romanian, and I don't know, maybe some other language. And for these languages, I couldn't find any suitable textbook in Slovak or Czech, so I used textbooks in English for them. In both cases, it was a textbook from the Teach Yourself series, and basically this was the first that I encountered, so I simply got what was available and started learning from the available materials that I had. Later on, I started using also some apps like Duolingo, for example. And of course, I started using my languages for everyday activities, like searching for information online, just about anything that I wanted, or watching videos, reading about interesting things, reading books, and so on and so on. So, to sum up, the key components of my learning process, they are as follows. I use one single source that's comprehensive enough, in my case a textbook for autodidacts in the form of hard copy. I have to proceed fast. I have to get the structure of the language and pronunciation into my head first. That's in order to have a clear idea later on of what I'm getting to, even if I don't learn it perfectly on the first time, but I have to know this. And I have to have the right attitude, something that drives me forward, I would say, so that I do not skip studying on some worse days. So this is very important for me. And it's also important for me that I study strictly every day, regularly, without exception, without skipping. Every single day I try to allocate some time for studying. And I have to say that this was always possible for me because I always dedicated only about 1 month for intensive study of one language. So during 1 month, I somehow could manage this. And when I want to refresh my knowledge of a given language, I can go through the same textbook after some time, like after a few months, maybe after a year, it depends. So this is what I typically do when learning a language, or better said, used to do when I was learning my languages from scratch. This is the way I studied. As you can see, there was no special approach, nothing unusual. I was mostly following my materials and making use of my free time for studying. Basically, I was just going with the flow, not doing anything special. What was special for me and important was that I was consistent with my study. But on the whole, I was trying to make it as simple as possible. Basically, this approach somehow worked for me. I basically described my procedure, my way of learning, and I tried to mention all that I could remember. I have to say that now I'm already at a slightly different stage of learning, so this is not exactly what I'm doing currently, because currently I'm mostly doing something that I would call studying by using the language, not studying actively or explicitly. I'm only looking up some things like grammar or vocabulary when I encounter them, and I want to improve my knowledge about them. So, I think that's enough for now about the course structure of, or a basic outline of my language learning approach. I'll talk about this and other related topics also in the future. I should repeat that this was the way in which I studied. Since each of us is different, you might prefer something else, some other activities, some other approach. So you can write about this in the comments, and thank you very much for watching, and see you again next time. Goodbye.